Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. I'm Leanne Kezin, and I am here today with a new series we're launching called Samurai Under the Hood. And I'm really excited to bring you the president of StyleLabs, Almin Kassamali. And we're going to talk about some things today. The purpose of Under the Hood is to give you a look under the hood. We want to answer FAQs. We want to show you things that we have these conversations with our clients all the time. We're going to have a look at some of the questions we get asked by our clients all of the time. We're going to look at some of the things that people just, we always say people don't know what they don't know. So here is just a wide look at all the things we do at StyleLabs, the how, the why, and we're bringing you topics every week that you're going to be able to use, tangible topics in your business. So today we're going to talk, Almin and I are going to talk about the very, very important, I think it's almost a first step, Almin, the advisory. So what can you tell me about advisory, and do you look at this like it's the first step?
Yeah, you know what, Leanne? I absolutely do. So advisory is something that StyleLabs has been doing for years, but we never really formalized or bundled it. And, basically when people come in, the first thing I tell client is, if you want to build a website, you actually shouldn't hire a web designer or a marketer. You should hire a business builder, which is what we proclaim to be. And the difference between a business builder and a web designer and a marketer is a business builder basically connects all the dots for you, right? At the end of the day, what advisory does is it basically gives people a roadmap. More specifically, it's a 10-page roadmap that really breaks up. The first thing we do is we basically understand the business. We understand who the competitors are. We understand who the customers are. We build personas for those people. And then we sort of take all of this and we turn it into really well synthesized communication blocks. Mission, vision, values, elevator pitch. I bet you that if you went to any business owner and said, what do you do? 8 out of 10 people would actually really fumble. Most people don't have that elevator pitch. So what we like to do is really put all of these into actionable packets. And then before anything happens on web or social media or ads, it's basically part of a bigger roadmap or critical contingency plan. So what we decided to do a few months ago is we decided to turn it into a formal product. There's a lot of people who already have websites built. There's a lot of people who might not need digital marketing services or research services or whatever, but they just basically need to take a step back and take a bird's eye view into what is my business? What is it today? What do I want that business to be in 10 years? And what do I need to get there? And how do I close that gap? And what mechanisms do I need to actually get there? And so we basically, from a marketing and sales standpoint, develop that guidance document, or as I call it, a hunting license for these people, right? Because that's really what it is. Like, they're going for the goal. And sometimes people buy these beautiful Ferraris and these Aston Martins, but they don't know how to drive them. They don't know how to fuel them. So we want to make people aware before they even pick up that Aston Martin from the lot, what it's going to actually take to win the race.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Exactly. I like that. I mean, there's many people that don't understand everything that's involved and what it's actually capable of. And, we're talking about a website now. We're talking about what's your website, for example, your business now versus 10 years from now. We're also talking about what it was even a couple of years ago. Things have changed. And if you don't have that roadmap like you're talking about, you're kind of just in the dark.
For sure. I wish I had that roadmap when I started my businesses. Like, I was talking to a colleague this morning and I said, as we went down this entrepreneurial route, there were so many holes we fell into. And there were so many, roadblocks we hit on the marketing side, on the sales side, on building our website, on how to advertise, on how to do our accounting, how to position ourselves, how to write an RFP. And I wish there was something like this out there at that time. We would be leaps and bounds ahead than we are right now. And we want to basically give people that springboard. Like, I've been saying a lot that there is the easy way and the right way to do things. And even though the right way is a little harder, the dividends are definitely worth it.
Mhm.
And that's what I see advisory as. People very often say, I need a website. I just need a basic website with a few pages. Well, you know what? Every website has a few pages, and that doesn't make it basic. And also, how do you want to position yourself in the market? What do you want to say? How are you going to differentiate yourself? Some clients will come to us and say, hey, listen, we've already got an in-house developer. We just need you to tell them what to do. Advisory allows us to quarterback for these people and actually give them the step-by-step, from the communications to the content to the user experience to being adaptive to each of their user personas. This is what an advisory basically enables. Now, an advisory can be a one-time engagement where before anything starts, you're basically going to get this packet. And what we believe in is you never hold a client hostage. Okay, you basically give them everything. I was talking to a prospect about this today. I said that the days of basically holding on to proprietary information and holding it over a client so that you become indispensable, those days are over. The more information that you give somebody, the more educated they become. You go from I don't know what I don't know to I know what I don't know. And when that transition happens, people are able to make more intelligent business decisions. It's like hiring professionals. When you're starting a business, you'll hire a lawyer. You want your accountant to do your year ends. And yet a lot of people will do their social media and their SEO and their web design and their sales strategy on their own.
Right. Yeah. And they're not in the business, or they don't know what they're doing in that area. So why does that happen?
Well, you know what? I think that number one, it's because sales and marketing, business building is not accredited. Anybody can basically walk out of school and say, I'm a guru. I hate that word, by the way. But people will say, oh, you're a marketing guru or a web guru or advertising guru. It's a bunch of garbage. Like, at the end of the day, until you don't actually go through the process, fall through those potholes, understand, Google changed its AdWords deck on such a regular basis, and you look at it one day and you've got it mastered, and the next day you're just like, what happened here? It's a completely different system.
Yeah.
And so you need to understand how to connect all those dots all over again. And I believe that this industry does need to get much more professionalized, because everybody can say, oh, well, I can TikTok, so I'm a social media influencer, or I'm a social media expert. And because they do this, what people don't understand is that when you put things online and when you put your communication out, a lot of that does get immortalized. Yes, you can delete it, but you can't delete people's memories. Once they see it, that first memory is that first memory, right? And so again, what this advisory does is it gives you a manual, right? When I first had kids, my wife always used to say to me, I wish these guys came with a manual. Well, having a business is just like having a kid. It really is. It requires nurturing, and just like in the first few years of their life, kids can get into a lot of trouble and they can hurt themselves. They can kill themselves. Well, so can a business.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You can make the wrong decision and you can literally flush your entire dream, your entire life down the toilet. What this document does is it's a do and don't. How to present yourself, how to present your service, what services to present, what are the rules of engagement, what is the client experience or the client journey looks like. Right now, we're working with a new restaurant and we're actually helping them actually find a name. So we did a brainstorm, we did a secondary audit. Once we did that secondary audit, we actually did a survey with Calgarians. It's actually a really cool survey. Somebody won free burgers for a month, and we came up with some unbelievable names out of it. So we do we don't just come out and say, hey, listen, we're the expert and here's your manual and go and do it. We basically take all of the things that we understand and we know, and then we overlay that with market research. We have a panel of 100,000 people across Canada called Canada Survey, and through this, we validate everything that we're talking about. Yeah. So the idea with it, it's everything, right? So, when somebody comes out and proclaims that they're an expert, they're the expert of one opinion. What we want is statistically significant expertise to reinforce the whole roadmap. Mm-hmm. And so at the end of it all, what should a client have with an advisory? They should know what kind of a website to build, who to build that website for, what to say in that website, and how to promote that website once it's built. Mm-hmm. I say this often. Your website is your hub. And even though we're talking about business building, it should always be understood that a business is built on its nucleus, which is the website. Mm-hmm. And through that website, then you can build out all those other spokes. Right. So we talk about what that hub is. We also talk about all those spokes, and we show people how to connect those dots and build their big picture. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So
you're building them like a map to that ecosystem and how all those dots connect, and why. So like you say, understanding why is a lot of power for that business owner and that entrepreneur to really understand, and not just have you say, here's what you need to do, but why.
You know what? It's the what, it's the why, but it's also the how. Mm-hmm. There are so many experts that basically will tell you, hey, you need to have a presence on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is really big for your business. But what they won't tell you is, who should you be targeting? What kind of content should you be posting? How frequently should you be posting that content? What should you be positioning? How many concessions should you offer? What are those concessions? What is your sales workflow when somebody converts from LinkedIn? Like that's just an example of the kind that is one workflow, right? But not every social channel is for every client. Not every tactic is the same. In fact, I could find 3 optometrists or 3 dentists, 3 mortgage brokers, and every one of their businesses will be distinctly different. Mm-hmm. I work with some really cool realtors in the city, and you know what? One's an expert in inner city. One's an expert in foreclosures. Everybody basically has their niche. And with that niche is a completely different sales, marketing, and business building plan. Where do you put videos? Why are videos important? What kind of events should you do? But again, when you talk to a marketer or a web designer, what you're going to get is one opinion, one context. And I was just watching this video earlier today, and in the video they basically said that your discovery should be broken down into 2 phases. The first phase is basically capturing all the low-hanging stuff and then going into market and then learning from the data that comes out or is extrapolated from that. And that's very consistent with how Google does their ads. When you actually launch a Google ad, you'll post it or push it based on their data and what you think is best. Then Google actually goes into what they call learning mode. And it's through learning mode that you're able to extrapolate all this data and then finalize everything. We sort of do it a little differently. I don't like the idea of taking something to market on a hypothetical. No. What I believe is that there should be a secondary audit and primary research done prior to the development of assets. Like it's like having the answers to a test. This is the cheat sheet. And it baffles me how often people will completely bypass this process because they want to save a few bucks. Mm-hmm. And I really do believe in that whole penny wise, pound foolish saying, because that's really what happens. Well, I want to save money here and I just need a website. Well, do you know that website could increase your bottom line by $1.5 million? And the amount of search volume in your industry is high enough that you could expand into 3 markets in 24 months? No, you don't know that. What you know is what you know, right? And so we like to overlay this on top of every campaign to ensure that people have that right perspective and nobody's operating from a, from a deficit.
Mm-hmm. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's also, again, they don't know what they don't know. So it's a matter of, I'm going to save a few bucks, um, by skipping these steps. And they also are not aware of how critical this information and this data is. And I love that, we spend so much time and so much emphasis on following the data, because it is available to us and it is there, and using all of that first before you just kind of take a shot in the dark. I mean, it makes all the sense in the world. There's so many things that you wouldn't do that for. So why do we tend to do that when we're talking about developing our, digital footprint in it for our businesses?
For sure. And this is the challenge in this day and age, that there's so much information out there and there's so many different perspectives that people want that instant gratification, and everybody's winging it. And I want to be clear about something. This is not just for startups. This is for startups. These are for companies that are in acceleration mode, that are in growth mode. This is for veterans, people who are established in industry. They're making money and they just need a digital transformation.
Yeah.
And it's also for rescues. And the process of advisory for each of these segments is completely different. We did an advisory to basically determine what kind of advisories we should be offering. and these are the 4 segments that we actually came up with. Because when you look at a startup, for example, their needs are very, very simple. It is, we need to build a baseline and we need to springboard into this market. But you know what? Sometimes during the advisory process, we'll say, hey, listen, you might want to take a blue ocean strategy here. Maybe you don't want to enter into a market. Maybe you want to create a market. And a lot of our clients will come back and they'll tell us, hey, listen, this is so much better, and you removed all the barriers to entry for me with 1 paragraph on your advisory, right? With people who are in rescue mode, it might be about, hey, listen, this is what you do. This is your area of expertise. Have you considered making this small pivot over here and look at the search data that justifies that this is an untapped market, high need area, and guess what? It takes 1 service page on your website to expand, and we can start pointing ads to this, and you can transform tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. And that's the whole point, is that we are in a world where we have to be agile. We have to be able to pivot. And what we like doing in these plans is injecting a little bit of elasticity into our strategy so that people can stretch and pivot and take different approaches. So we won't just say, here's your linear approach to success. We'll create a multivariant plan that says, if this, then this, but if this, then this. And a part of it, like I use the word critical contingency plan. It is, if you get a bad review, this is what you're going to do. If a client comes back and is unhappy for justifiable reasons, these are the actions you're going to take. This is the workflow you need to put in. And then there's also the sales strategy, right? Like, we've been working on a really cool sales strategy based on some courses I've been taking. And really what we did is we bundled up something that we've been doing for a long time, which is, hey, we need to break everybody from a foundational level up into follow up, follow through, and follow back containers, right? And we inject that into our CRM. And so when a customer comes, whether they're looking for a mortgage or a website or soap, depending on how they behave and what they do, they are containerized. And based on what container they fall into, there are different drips and communication channels and retargeting that you have to do. There are different follow-up calls you have to make. There's different phone scripts. Yeah. Some people require outbound calling. Some people require an inbound infrastructure. So what we try and do is make all these determinations during the advisory process, and then we line them up with the right technology. And even though we have a CRM and we have, a really good website platform, we also have a lot of technology partners. and we build custom technology stacks for every single client based on the outcome of these advisories. So to sum up, I mean, you're going to have all your communication really, really synthesized. Then you're going to learn how to disseminate that information. You're going to understand who your customers are, how to speak to them. You're going to understand what market opportunities are out there. And then finally, the technology structure, technology stack that you're going to need to implement all this and how you're going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so think about the peace of mind. If I was a new business owner and I had this document, and this document basically took me through that A to Z, I think it would be another level. And what we're finding is that as we're doing these advisories, it's really, really priming our marketing in a box offering. So for example, once we build an advisory out, clients will come to us and they'll say, okay, we have an internal development team, so we don't want to build on Samurai. And I say, okay, that's totally fine. But can you quarterback the web design? Can your team quarterback the web design for me? We've got a sales team. Can you guys quarterback the messaging, and can you teach them, how to deal with difficult clients, or how to rebuttal, or we built sales programs for everywhere from the one-person startup all the way to blue chip companies. And so once that advisory is done, it really takes us to this next level where we're actually able to then, on an ongoing basis, integrate ourselves as a partner, as a business building partner into our clients' businesses. Like, we don't believe in the love them and leave them attitude. I mean, everything is about the long-term relationship, about nurturing, and about really, really helping our clients level up so that we all grow together.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe it all starts with a foundational advisory, regardless of where in the life cycle or the journey you are.
Right. Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. And it's critical. It's a piece that I think a lot of people are missing. And obviously we're finding that more and more because we keep getting asked for this information. So
Absolutely.
The one thing too I wanted to add to that is that once the person, what's the next step? So someone enters into the advisory, what essentially is the next step? Like what are they looking at after that?
Okay, so the way our process works is once a client approaches us, the first thing they actually do is they complete an intake form. Through that intake form, they haven't signed anything, they haven't committed to anything yet, but through this intake form, we do some preliminary research and we actually have a sales consultation with the client. Through this, we will at a high level tell the client what we think they're going to need, what level of product they need to align to, and what they look like today, and what they look like 12, 24, 36 months from now, and what journey they need to go on to get there.
Yeah.
Once a client decides, okay, I do need a website, because most people do need websites. Once they get to that point, then we basically start with a discovery. So it's a form that a client fills out, and it's a complete brain dump of everything about their business. And if you talk to my friend Phil Unger at Kezin, he would call that unstructured data. So what we do is we take that unstructured data and we turn it into structured data. And we take all that information and we identify all those areas, all those pillars that need to be addressed. And from there, we then move into the advisory mode. And there's 2 to 3 meetings that we go through with the client. And between those meetings, there's the research, there's the surveys, there is the secondary audits. We might have sidebar stakeholder consultations. And then we basically aggregate all of that together. And then we give them their roadmap.
Yeah.
So it's a very, very comprehensive process. I really like putting the time into these things because at the end of that conversation, everything is so crystal clear. And when you initiate the web design and the media buying and the sales tools and all of that, the thing that I love, the greatest validation that I get is we're all saying the same things. We're creating lingo together and we basically have that same approach, their same vision. It creates this synchronicity that doesn't exist otherwise. And I'll tell you, on the other side, if somebody isn't doing the advisory and they jump right into the web design, it does create a little bit of a gap, both in knowledge, in knowledge and in perspective. So I like when clients are speaking the same language. The efficacy, statistically, the efficacy of their campaigns is much higher.
Yeah.
Because again, they are now an informed buyer, right? And not only that, I mean, you could go to some of my clients that I've done advisory with all the way back 11 years to Paul Anthony, and you tell Paul Anthony, tell me what StyleLabs does. He will be able to pitch you on StyleLabs better than I do. And again, the reason for that is because we now speak the same sales, marketing, business language.
Yeah.
And that is actually absolutely everything. So.
No, I love it. And I think that roadmap, honestly, like you said in the very, very beginning, you wish you would have had this roadmap. So many people wish they would have had this roadmap, and now it's available. So we're going to wrap it up. Almin, thank you so much for the insight. We're going to come back to you. I don't think we're coming back this week, but we'll be back next week with another interesting topic and some more information to share with you. So this is Samurai Under the Hood. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Almin, as always, and we will see you next time.
Thanks.